Hi, I'm Donald Waugh. You are watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. We're coming to you today on location from Nashville, Tennessee, the 2017 Summer NAMM show at the Phil Jones booth with our new friend, Donald Waugh. Hi, Donald.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Oh boy, you got a set of pipes there.
You know, a little barrel white thing going there.
I have actually discovered you fairly recently because you've gotten very active on social media and putting out videos and YouTube and whatnot. Very impressed. And I said, that's Donald Waugh. So I had to come over and get to know you. And I'd like to hear you tell the story rather than me. You're originally from Kingston, Jamaica, I think, right? Tell me about your musical upbringing. How were you first exposed to music? And how did you become a bass player, which ultimately led to the very cool and very unique things that you do today that we'll get to in a minute. But how did it all start from the beginning?
Well, it all started with my parents. My dad plays in church, and so does my mom. She sings. And just watching my dad play, he plays every instrument, bass, guitar, drums, you name it, he plays it. And just seeing him do his thing, I was like, I want to do that, you know? And asked my dad, can I play drums? He's like, no. You know, so my cousin had a drum set, and I would just watch him play. I wasn't allowed to play. I don't know for what reason. I guess he didn't want me to be a musician. And so I asked my mom, can I at least play the piano? And she said, all right, fine. So they sent me to piano lessons. I was like 7, 8 years old and did that for a number of years. And I stopped playing the piano when the exam time was coming up in high school. And I had to study, you know, I would just focus on studying, so I didn't play piano in that time. But after high school, my sister got married and to a musician, like a real touring professional. He's a guitar player mainly, but he plays bass. He has one bass in his hundreds of guitar collection, you know. And I asked him, what's that big case over there? And he said, oh, it's just a Fender Jazz. And I said, can I see it? So he took it out. It was a beautiful 1976 Fender Jazz. And I asked him, how is it tuned? He said, E-A-D-G. Because I played the piano, you know, he said, you know, semitones, so I could have figured out the notes. So he went to bed. They went to bed. I stayed up. I listened to records the whole night. And
What kind of records?
I was listening a lot of, you know, jazz and R&B and reggae music. Just anything he had in his collection. He had an extensive collection, you know. And there's one song that I decided I want to transcribe was La Bamba. So I just say, bamba, ba-do, bam, bam. So when my sister got up...
The original one or the one they made for the movie in the 80s? The Richie Valens version?
I think it was the Richie Valens version.
Okay, authentic.
And she woke up and she heard the bass line. And she started freaking out and said, Donald, let's learn the bass overnight. Of course, I only learned one bass line, but still, you know. And that's where it started.
Well, did you start to listen to music differently, picking out the bass? Did you have any bass heroes, influences?
At the time, I only listened to classical music. At the time, I was a...
You mean until that time?
Until that time, it was just classical music all the time. I loved it. And my sister gave me this cassette. It was a compilation of different artists like Jacko and other jazz musicians. And I sat there and I wore the tape out. I listened to it like every single day. And that's where I started saying, wow, bass can do that? So that's what I started messing around with Jacko and trying to get that stuff happening as a kid, you know?
Yeah, sure. It's a similar story to a lot of people. I was going about my business and then I heard Jocko and my life changed. Well, talk to me a little bit. How would you describe what you do now? Because it's very different. It's unique. It's very special. How would you describe your act? Can I call it that?
Yeah. Well, I started playing guitar as a hobby because by that time, I started playing in bands and professionally started playing bass with everyone. But I bought myself a guitar, and as a hobby, just when I go home, I just mess around with it. And I got hired to play guitar. And then, so I just started playing guitar, and I'm like, wow, these chords, you know what I mean, so useful. So I started applying it on the bass also. And I started touring with a group called the Jolly Boys, but I was playing the banjo.
Still throughout Jamaica or beyond?
Europe, Dubai, US, you know, world tour. And so I went home, and then I got hired again to go back out on the road, but this time was just East Coast,
So you're about how old?
38. Pretty old.
No, I don't mean now. I mean then, when you were...
Back then, I was about 29.
Okay.
Getting my 30s. So I started off late, but yeah, started playing guitar and eventually started singing. Background, of course. And then I got back home. I got called to go back out on the road again. But this time they wanted me alone. I've never sang anything by myself. So he just liked my energy and said, hey, let's do something with you alone. We're going to do a 4-month tour. We're going to do all, Alaska. We're going to do Mexico. We're going to do, so it's all about.
What kind of venues?
Just, bars and clubs and, stuff like a couple festival gigs. And that's when I started singing, really singing. And I was terrified. But I was thrown in it. And I had to just find something to do and really be engaging, because it's easy to be in a band and be engaging. You have so much help. But when you're by yourself, you have to do it all on your own. So that was the university of hard knocks in a way,
Yeah, what about the repertoire? I heard you playing some Stevie Wonder and some other stuff.
I started doing a lot of cover stuff at first. But while on the road in a hotel room, I said, you know what, it's time I do some original things. Because, you can cover things to death, but you're really going to get known for what you produce as an artist. So I decided to do my first album, Just Passing Through, and pretty much on the road. I went back home and mixed it, and started doing those songs and doing it in festivals, and I did a second album while on the road again, so added to the repertoire. So it right now my show is just all original music, and I've been touring using the bass now, because the bass is my first love. And that's how I started playing the 7-string bass, because I love playing chords. I like playing bass too. Best of both worlds.
Let's talk bass, because you are holding a gorgeous work of art in your lap. What is this? I wanted to call it a beast because it has 7 strings, but it's too elegant to call a beast. It is a lovely, beautiful instrument. Tell us about it.
Yes, this is the Cunningham RLJ S7 signature. This instrument, I found about this instrument online, actually. I saw Dwight with his bass as his profile photo, and I said, wow, that's an amazing piece. I'd love to get my hand on a bass like that. And he said, okay, where do you live? He sent me a bass. He totally did.
Where were you living at the time?
We were in London.
Okay, in London, Ontario,
yeah,
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
And he sent the bass there, and it wasn't this one, obviously. A 6-string at the time, and I loved it. And he said, okay, now I'm gonna build you your bass. And I had a couple 7-strings before, and I gave him the measurements. But I told him the things I want changed, like this one's more radiused and the body is smaller and lighter. And so a bunch of little electronic difference, like I have a unibody, what do you call that, pick, there's only one cover. So there's different things that I wanted just for my own personal instrument. So he built it, and he sent it out, and this is the only bass I play now. I love it.
So it's E, A, D, G, but you have a low B, and then you have 2 more on top. You have the C, and you have an F. So you can go really low and really high. So you don't need any other. You don't need a band. You got it all right there, huh?
I love playing in a band, to be honest. But for now, I've been trying to force myself to try and be the most engaging artist by myself.
Well, you're good at it.
I try.
What kind of strings do you have on there?
I use Callium strings.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Callium.com.
I know the company, I know the guys, Chris. I should mention, or maybe I did mention, we're sitting here at the Phil Jones booth. He has got some great stuff. We've interviewed Igor Saavedra in the past, and we know some other Phil Jones artists. I think more and more people are getting to know about the brand, and he's always coming out with new stuff. Tell me what you like about Phil Jones. Phil Jones, the guy, you could tell me, but he's a great guy too. But I mean Phil Jones products, amps, speakers, and the stuff that he does.
I found out about Phil Jones at Summer NAMM last year.
Okay.
And I saw the products, and they looked amazing. But I looked at them and man, those things must be super expensive. I'm just gonna walk. I don't want to know. You know what I mean? But the sound was just elegant, just pristine. Then I met him again at Winter NAMM through. I really got introduced by Wing Instruments, Andy.
Oh yeah.
And I'd say, you know what, I'm just gonna play all these amps and try it out. I'm just see if I can buy one of these amps. You know, I really need a really good amp. You know, and
tell me what you like about it.
the clarity. That's pretty much it. It's just whatever I play, it sounds like the bass, how it's supposed to sound. There's no color or anything. I don't really use EQ. It's just pretty much flat. And I should play a bass line, I play notes and I play chords. And everything should translate clearly. Because I'm playing the entire instrument, So that was like the selling point for me. I could play the entire instrument and it just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So from that, I've been just Phil Jones everything. I bought, I have Phil Jones headphones. I have the big head. I have the little double 4. I have the Cap 47. I have the bass plus 1. I have everything Phil Jones.
It's amazing. Well, you've got your career is somewhat established. You're getting a lot more notoriety. Tell me what you'd like to do after, in the future. What else would you like to do that you haven't already accomplished? What's in store? What are you working on? And what can we look forward to hearing and seeing from you?
Well, currently I'm working on the 3rd album. I made this promise to myself that I'm going to do 5 albums before I'm 40. That means I only have 2 years to do it, right? I just like to set these very high, targets to force myself to really push hard. So the album project is really what I'm focusing on. And
what are the first 2 called? What are the titles?
The first one's called Just Passing Through. The second one is Feel Brand New. So the 3rd one is Early Days. So it's really talking about me getting up at 5 a.m. and going back to bed at 1 a.m. every day, just in the grind.
Oh, you young people. When can we expect to see that available?
I'm hoping to have it available probably in the next 8 or so months. I'm really working hard on getting it done.
So maybe early 2018, is that fair to say? Okay.
Or even before. If I keep the pace I'm at now, I should be able to finish it earlier.
It's not like you have to coordinate schedules with other band members or anything, right?
Not really.
This is all you, right?
It's all me, but I'm collaborating with different artists on this particular project. Like I have a lady from Mexico. She's going to be doing some stuff with me. I have a keyboard player from Jamaica. He's going to do some stuff too. So.
Okay. You remind me of some of the projects that Rob Wasserman used to do. Are you familiar with his stuff?
No.
He had an album was called Solo, was just bass. Then he had an album called Duets. Yeah. And he got everyone from, I don't know, Frank Sinatra, I think, or Tony Bennett, and then he had trios. Yeah. I don't know if he did quartets, but interesting guy. I did an interview with him a few years ago, shortly before he died, actually. He had a Woody Guthrie project to commemorate Woody Guthrie's 100th anniversary of his birth, so that was interesting. But let me ask you one last question, Donald. If you can imagine, what would you be if you weren't a bass player? Something outside of music.
To be honest, I studied sculpture. Yeah, I have a degree in sculpture. Yeah, not a lot of people don't know that. I don't have a degree in music.
You're an artistic guy, though, obviously.
Yes, I'll probably be a sculptor, quite likely, if I wasn't a bass player.
Sculpting what kind of stuff?
I'd probably make toys. Cool. Yeah, believe it or not, it's fun to make little sculpture, mold them, send them to China, and multiply them. Money.
There you go. Interesting stuff. Well, you can do that, but I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, and I don't see any signs of that stopping, so good news for all of us. Well, great getting to know you. Congratulations. Much luck. Continued success to you. Keep it up. And let us know when the record comes out, and we'll tell all these folks. Definitely. All right. With our new friend Donald Waugh at the Phil Jones booth at the 2017 Summer NAMM Show, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm John Liebman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.